Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Headlines Raw Review. My name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and we are live here on YouTube and also available in podcast form. Links in the description or head over to wrestlingheadlines.net. So, new setup, a little bit different, fair to say. Also, because the way I've got things set up, it's just everything I need to touch it to the right. So I've got no idea how to actually do this. Not just like going off camera like that. It's like, oh, it's just weird. It's weird, but. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, so I'm standing up with you. We'll see how it goes. We've got a nice little backdrop. We've got a nice little shadow boob up there for my light that I can't move out of the way. So that's irritating. Anyway, my name is Matt Mayer, aka Imp, and we'll be reviewing Monday Night Raw here in the white studio, full of white. Anyway, I think I enjoyed myself in Monday Night Raw. I mean, I'm not saying I was suddenly massively invested in their characters or stories, but they allowed matches to breathe instead of like 11 or 12 quick fire bouts, and the show was infinitely more watchable. What a surprise. Like, I generally really did enjoy the show. And kind of like which is weird. I will massively preface this. Since I've not done the reviews, I've not done anything for Wrestling Headlines in it was beginning of October. It's been about a month since I've watched anything WWE. I've been in AEW. I finished up the New Japan G1 Climax reviews, and as it was, both AEW Dynamite moving to a Saturday for a couple of weeks, meaning I couldn't cover it. Also, Monday Night Raw was doing the Crown Jewel shows, and I had no plan of watching Crown Jewel. So I was like, you know what? Let's just leave it. We'll come back after all that is done and return. So I'm returning with I've not been watching it optimism. Which is the best way to enjoy Raw. If you tune in, and when we've not watched Raw for about a month or a few weeks, whenever you come back, you're like, it's not. It's not that bad, It's not actually that bad. This Raw that people, all the complaints, it's not actually that bad. What's actually happened there, You've not watched the show for a few weeks, and as the show progresses, you start to remember that yeah. Now I get it. Yes, now I remember. And it slowly returns. That reminder that yes, this is why. And little things pop out throughout the show. And then you finally get to the final bit. It's like yeah. And especially if you watch multiple weeks in a row, you get that feeling. But I mean, the show was easy to get through, and compared to the stuff earlier this year, where that's kind of my marker during the summer when fans returned, I was like, how easy is the show to get through? Because the marker was bloody difficult. That was the level. If it's bloody difficult to get through, it's not the best. This Raw was easy to get through. But the main talking point came in the form of the main event. Also, I've not figured out how to scroll my notes without just stretching my arm out like that. We'll get to it. We'll figure it out. Baby steps. It's the completely new background. We'll figure out how it goes. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, and Big E, the kind of triple threat three kind of set up a little bit, where we've got the number one contender, Seth Rollins. We've seen it before on Monday Night Raw, where they like to have three at once, essentially, with the WWE Championship, and then you can rotate your big boy brawls, with especially Sheamus, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre last year. He rotated in Randy Orton, where you swap out Sheamus. You got that rotating three. This year, you go with Big E, Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens. Three, also awesome. Could be. You can rotate them out. You can have the big boy brawls every single week. You build up the tensions between them. You actually have the matches, like with Bobby Lashley, Sheamus, the number of times I can think of at least once where they built up that they were going to do the match, even teased it the week before, and I'm like, this is great. They've had their matches, they've done their stuff, but they're pissed at each other and they get angry, and then you build to a match later down the line. Awesome, great. But they just the next week then change the matches, which is. It makes sense for me for WWE to stop promoting next week's matches because they always change it, so just stop promoting them. And what they've done recently, I'm fine with that. Just announce it a few days before the show once you finally figure it out. It's all right. It kind of screams you're not thinking ahead, but if that's how you write, don't stop trying to promote it ahead. It makes sense. Anyway, so on tonight's show, number one contender Seth Rollins with a little briefcase after winning the ladder match. He comes out and gives his own horn and old tooting. Big E comes out with the backhanded congratulations. I've skipped over what Seth said. It's not important. Get to the bigger things. Some good baddie words as Seth laughs at both King Woods and Kofi Mania, which the latter of which is so highly regarded that just speaking ill against it is just, how could you possibly? You can't speak ill against that. You're such a villain. He is a villain. That's why he said it. But it all motivates E to propose that the match is moved later in the show. Smart Seth, however, long arm, I'll figure it out eventually. Smart Seth obviously shoots it completely down after competing in Hell in a Cell and in a ladder match back to back. It's Monday Night Contract Kevin Owens coming out because that's the main talk about it as well. It's Kevin Owens' contract, and who he absolutely killed his babyface fire promo, saying it may be 3 more months or 3 more years. Every time I step in that ring, I give it everything. Seth doesn't want none, but KO's more than happy to. If Owens really is on his way out, then for me, this is 100% the way to do it, putting everybody over on his way out, rather than getting bollocks booking in some form of childish revenge at the detriment of your own product. Why? Why would you do that? What is wrong with you? Just have them put the others over so they look great. Don't make him look crap, so when he goes elsewhere, your idea is he's worth less when they go there, but if they book him strong out the gate, none of it matters. It's interesting. But that fast forwards us to the main event. I'm doing Superman a little stretch. Big E versus Kevin Owens was the main event. As Kevin Owens is more than happy to fight. He's like, yeah, I'll do it. Like, we've never had Big E versus Kevin Owens. Let's do that for the first time. And that set up our kind of new 2021, a 3-men main event little scene, which again, comparing to last year's, is similar style of booking, because like, on a night where matches were given time to build, which is like one of my main positives coming off of this show, they gave the matches time to build. Yeah, great. So they gave the matches time to build, and this main event capped it off really fittingly. Like a rare sight in WWE for them to straight up deliver a face versus face match and give it time without quick interruption. It was like, oh yes, great. So a round of applause for this show's main run-through angle. They actually did it. Well done them. And this was a hell of a back and forth, both lads charging and flying into close falls and finisher counters. A little head bump sends both lads in the end. They send them both a bit wobbly. But Rollins off of his commentary seat immediately to lamp the champion and try and cost him the match. Then, in the moment, babyface Kevin Owens, one of our heroes, Kevin Owens, is then faced with a decision. He definitely sees Seth Rollins lamp E, sees E down, sees Seth Rollins scuppering away, like scuppering away. Then he has to make that decision. Does he try and go after Seth and go, oh, you villain, and goes after him? I'm the good guy. I'll go after you, villain, for your villainous deeds. Does he do that? Or does he try and get a pin over the WWE champion? And, in an interesting character moment, he chooses to go for the pin, even though he's meant to be one of the super good guys. He shows a trait that isn't pure goody. He's like, oh, yes, WWE normally swing either way, or they get really crap at booking good guys. But this is a complex thing, and I like it. We're good at seeing them putting them in a difficult situation. This is awesome. So then Kevin Owens goes for the pin, and he's then caught and pinned to the crucifix by Big E instead. In the moment, Owens made the decision to go for the pin. But then after the match, like, he's not buying anything. He's like, you saw Seth hit me. And Kevin Owens is like, he's been caught out. He's like, no, I didn't see him. Rollins, you, and he tries to switch it to Seth Rollins. To that, well, how could you do that? How? What is you evil villainous person? And he's just like, come on, I know you saw him. Like, no, and for all of the different reasons they can come up with. However, Owens trying to shift the focus onto Rollins' games doesn't work. He just pays him comeuppance anyway. He's like, he agrees with Kevin Owens. Like, yeah, he is a bit of a dick, but you saw him do it and try to take advantage. I'm not going to let that slide. It's like, both of them. Kevin Owens, caught in a difficult position, makes a decision, and it's not one that's going to make the other good guy happy. But that other good guy immediately calls him out on it and doesn't let it slide. We've seen it a few times where this kind of result happens, but then at the end, they're both just like, oh, you. Oh, what are you like? Oh, we're both just so cheeky. Oh, aren't we? We've seen it like that here, to see E blatantly pissed off and then hitting this finisher on him to send like a big show ending. That's how we say it for wee Kevin, who has made mistakes on this night. But I just loved all the character beats in there, which is great for me to say about WWE when it's normally me just complaining. But there's that thing of, and also on my end, whenever I look across, because I've got the stream on a lower quality so it doesn't take up video, I'm just seeing me constantly freeze in weird positions. So hopefully that's not what the live actual thing's like. Anyway, And playing them off all really well. Seth Rollins just has to be the douche. Like, he's just the dickhead. He just runs around going, and scurries away after doing these evil deeds. But then Biggie and Kevin Owens have their fallout, and it makes sense. Kevin Owens, when faced with a position, one that would be massive for his career to pin the WWE champion, but then he's his fellow good guy. He wouldn't do him over like that, would he? He wouldn't do that. He did that. He screwed him over. And that's where we kind of find ourselves in this kind of situation. Like, yeah, massive round of applause. And it's a reason I keep comparing it to the Drew McIntyre, Sheamus and Bobby Lashley kind of triangle they were doing before is it's kind of similar where you got that, just adding that extra person makes the dynamic so much more interesting. You've got one who's an out and out villain, you've got the one who's an out and out good guy, and then you've got the one in between, kind of caught in the middle a little bit. It's like, and that would have been Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus then ended up going full heel. But yes, it's round of applause. Just well done WWE. They've set something up interesting, and I won't say that I'm suddenly invested and massively caring about the character thing. This is 1 week. WWE have a track record of just not remembering things after a certain amount of time, or just getting dropped to move on to that next thing. They've got a track record of that. And to be fair, that's something else to kind of praise here, is Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens reacted as if in the past they have feuded. Because they have. Just last year they had a big WrestleMania match after a really lengthy feud. So it makes sense when they bump into each other here. Just the sight of them still irritates them. I just really like that. Both of them, whenever the other one did something, they were just irritated. I was like, oh, yes, exactly. That's what they were. That's what their feud was. Both of them, by the end of it, were just so irritated by each other. Just wanted to beat the living hell out of both the good guy and the bad guy. And then we come here, and it's been a while, but just the sight of them still irritates them. It's just, yes, really is good. When I say good, this is like basic stuff, and see WWE doing it though is great, and then to use it and put it in a complex situation like this, which then branches out and creates more possibilities. Like, this is the type of thing I want to see in this company. Like, good stuff. And of course you mix it in with the kind of the three-way dynamic of the big boy brawls, because you can rotate them out, which is what they did last year with those same three guys. You bring in these three, it's going to be a completely different style, different matches, but if you book it in a similar way, like, I'm not going to have many complaints. We're going to get amazing matches, because that was my kind of main positive coming out of last year, was yes, the shows were, most of the time they were a bit difficult to get through, but you got a banger main event, or at least one main attraction match, which was not outstanding, but really strong TV wrestling, and that was a consistent across all of the Thunderdome era from Monday Night Raw. You would have, even if the finishes were crap, the matches themselves were great, or at least solid, and it's just I'm really happy to see that that's continuing, because that means even when the shows are crap, and I'll say the middle of the show is very nothing, but I've got praises for it compared to it being nothing with no praises. It's like there's nothing, but there's stuff to see here. It didn't feel like a necessary watch, but there were some really strong moments compared to when it's strong opening, strong main women's thing, and then nothing. It's just. It's a 3-hour show. This was better than that. I would even recommend it be watchable. Which is like, Nelly, it's watchable. Jesus. That's the main thing to take out of it. Anyway, I'm now going to go through the rest of the show in order and just talk about Monday Night Raw itself. I bloody script myself, and then I always go off script. It takes me so long to get back to the point I was making. But yes, so over the November 1st, 2021 episode of Monday Night Raw, it was by far one of the most watchable episodes, and the key part for that is, so the way I write my notes is I'll number each in-ring segment. If it's like a backstage thing, I'll just put in capital letters, like who's there, what it is, but I don't count it as a in-ring, like a segment, like an in-ring segment. It's just how I like to do my notes. It's not that I was like, do they not count as segments if they're backstage? That's just how I just number the in-ring stuff. There's no big reason for it. I'm not making any statement. That's just how I like to organise my Word document. It's not that big a deal. But so I see quite often when Raw hits double figures for the number of matches, quite often the pace of the show has just been crap. It's the best way to put it. For them to hit those kind of double figures, that means you've had to have short matches, and you've had to have more than one of them. On occasion, they've hit 12 or 13. That's in-ring segments, never mind any backstage stuff. Sometimes they've cut down the backstage stuff, but the matches have been really quick, so you just kind of barrel through them. the matches, that's where the fatigue point hits the most during those shows, where you feel like you've watched a lot but not much has happened. That's when they've had like 12 matches that really quick, didn't really go anywhere, do anything. They maybe pushed a character along or established a character or something like that, but you haven't really felt like anything had happened. On this show, they had fewer matches. It wasn't a show full of segment, like backstage talky bits. They were there, but it wasn't like bogged down by them, which we have seen before. Here, they were fine. Perfectly fine. There were 8 in-ring segments. It's the point I'm making. 8 is a nice number. 8 is often the number I get with AEW, and it flows really well. There's the odd week, obviously, with shorter stuff now and then, but that's kind of the average where I kind of end up. And for one night was me hitting that number, I sensed it during the show. Like, these matches were going long. I just assumed it would be the opener, maybe the ending would get 10 minutes plus. But we got Damian Priest's T-bar as well, just in the middle. It's like, that caught me by surprise. And of course, the main event got its own setup. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Yes, it was a screwy finish, but it wasn't like an interference or something completely out of nowhere to immediately set up a rematch. They'll have to do the work a little bit next week. Because my main critique is I just know that Bianca Belair's getting another match, and that's I'm just waiting for it. I know it's going to happen. That's just what I'm waiting for. I don't want it to be the case, but it is. It is the case. Do you get another match? I say as if they didn't tease Liv Morgan in the interview. It's like, yes. After they've booked her to lose every match since returning to Raw. That's my proof that there's little to no thinking ahead in this company. It's just, who should be the next challenger? Well, Liv Morgan, she's got popularity behind her, and Becky Lynch is the heel, kind of like she's next in line in terms of fan popularity. Yes. But since coming to Raw, you've made her lose every match. So she has no momentum. There is no, in your world, reason why she should be number one contender. Other than she's popular, therefore she gets the shot. Yeah, but she's lost every match. You've not... So this is where I have to bring in AEW. Where, for their tag division, they knew that the Lucha Bros were going to be winning the titles at All Out. They knew that. They knew they booked it. The Young Bucks are going to lose to the Lucha Bros there. So what do? In the weeks before the pay-per-view, they started to book another tag team to pick up wins. Meaning that when the Lucha Bros won, there was immediately this other tag team to challenge them. I think it was Butcher and the Blade. I can't remember. I don't know if I'm just zoning out a bit. But they built them up so that they were number one contenders. So they were there. And you don't have to do any additional work. You don't have to do a setup angle. You've already given them wins, so it makes sense of, they would be there. When you know you're going to do something, you can do the work beforehand to establish the next thing. They don't even know what they're doing with the current stuff. Never mind what's coming next. They may have like an end goal, but to actually get there, there's nothing. There's bare minimum stuff, or it's changed on the day of the show, so it doesn't matter anyway. And then you see this here with Liv Morgan. It's just, for me, it's just a little example. They clearly didn't think further ahead than maybe the Crown Jewel show for the triple threat. Then they know they're going to do Lynch versus Belair. They know that. But when that one has to take a break because you keep doing it, when they've had their big stuff, then what do? What is the next fuse for Lynch? And they've not thought about it. They've decided it's going to be Liv Morgan, but they haven't done any of the groundwork. So she's come to Raw, lost all the time, and now she's challenging for the title. Do wins and losses? Do any of the things we see on the screen matter? When anyone can just jump up, it doesn't matter about wins or losses. It's nice to see wrestling actually matter. The actual contest matter. I feel like it's a universe building basic. But WWE fail at it constantly. Anyway, let's talk about the actual match itself. So the Raw Women's Championship was on the line in the opener. Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair, and I do have to make a confession that I did say on Twitter that I would, when they announced this yesterday, because it absolutely screamed screwy finish. Just because they've done it for so many weeks now, ever since they've started, as I call it, the evidence of effort, where they'd give us like a really big match on Monday Night Raw to get us excited and to kind of generate hype for the show, and throughout the show quite often be the main event. Then they say this is going to be the opener, and they've done this before. When they've done this before, it's always either ended in a screwy finish, so we don't actually get a winner, or it has some form of weird thing happen during the match, which then sets up a second match later in the show. Either featuring the same two, but with a different stip, or featuring an additional person, or you turn it into a tag team match, or you Teddy Long it, or whatever. This match actually had a finish. Technically, it's a screwy finish, Becky Lynch Yano'd Bianca Belair, taking off the turnbuckle corner. Bianca goes crashing into it, then she's quick roll up. That's right out of Yano's playbook. But it's a win nonetheless. The babyface has got something to go by. Personally, like, I think Lynch facing someone else first is good. That's what I would like. It's just that they haven't done the groundwork, so I can moan about it as well. That is fine. But we have immediately just got that thing in Bianca Belair's pocket where she can just challenge again. Because, she cheated. Oh, okay then. Right, fine. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, cool. It's just, it feels... It was a strong match and they gave it 10-15 minutes. It just feels like it's a little bit... I was just waiting for the screwy finish and then it came and I was like, cool, that sets up the rematch then. Was there much point in this match other than generating the hype? You can give it purpose by not having them interact next week. That's personally what I say. Move Becky Lynch on. It can be a mini feud with Liv Morgan to help kind of establish a Survivor Series role for Bianca Belair. That's perfectly fine. But you for this screwy finish to actually not feel like just another run-of-the-mill screwy finish to keep the never-ending stuff going on. You keep giving us big matches where people just flat out can't lose. So we know there's going to be a screwy finish, which again is fine every now and then. If you give us a big match, we can get excited about it, even if we know there'll be a screwy finish, it's fine. But when you do it every week, it gets to a bit of a jokey level. It's like, okay, cool. Like, we're guaranteed a screwy finish. I've started to not care, which is a worry. You're giving me your biggest matches, but I don't care. I'm not hyped because I don't expect a finish. I expect it to be some form of screwy thing to keep the feud going and nobody loses. That's why I expect now. That was the build to Crown Jewel. And I know Crown Jewel's in its weird own unique bubble that bursts the second the event is over. But, yeah, personally, this is fine if they then leave it. Don't do Belair Bianca. Don't do Lynch versus Belair. Why can't I say this? Don't do that and then just it's fine. Yeah. Anyway, it was a strong TV match. Like a TV version of the high quality work that they've both been pumping out. Lynch's character full of wrestling wiliness with such a perfect pairing to Bianca's incredible show of strength and athleticism. The two given time as well to gradually kick up that pace, like over 15 minutes into an unsurprisingly great final run to the ending where, again, Becky grabbing the turnbuckle, what's the move called? KOD. I can never remember Bianca Belair's finisher. To counter the KOD, she grabs the turnbuckle pad, rips it off, then Bianca in their follow-up charge is then sent flying into the exposed turnbuckle. Quick Yano roll-up. She gets the win. It's like, I want to be invested in these kind of matches. And if you're going to the way to attract me is to give me your biggest matches with me knowing there can't be a finish, you can't do that every week. And maybe shifting to Liv Morgan is the best way for that. We'll see. It's decent. Go Larry David. Yeah. What's your review, Matt, for Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair? Larry David noise. Yeah, strong match. And I'll say the finish holds more weight if they don't immediately just do the match again or continue the feud straight off with no switch. Use Survivor Series. Make Bianca Belair the leader of the Survivor Series team. You've shown people like watching on TVs backstage. They could be part of the team. Or there's a women's tag team. They can be part of the team. They've got team in the team. Yeah. Anyway, Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory. I need to move off of that team tangent. Quick note for this. Like, I'm all for... and yes, it's me. I've got to talk about the crab. I'm all for like more interviews in Gorilla. I personally like that. Like that's rather than the logo television. The logo TV. I much rather prefer just mixing it up. You can still do the logo TV, but if they have different locations, they've got the interview ring. They've got Gorilla and they've got the logo television. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Mix it up a bit. It's cool. But surely, just straight up central focus, shoot the interviewer squatting. Oh, I can squat a bit. Ugh. Squatting to interview. Actually, no, because he has to step back. I'm going to use my depth of depth here. Let's do this. He has to. I'm trying to raise my voice for it. He has to kind of squat and be in the back, so he's the same height, and he lean forward like that to Rey Mysterio. He's about 5'5". He's not. He's relatively average height. But it's just like, oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous at this point. Like, I'm like, it has to be a rib. Just it has to be a rib. I've just seen how small I look on the camera. Like, it has to be a rib, surely. Like, Ah, sure, just to show the interviewer full crab, it surely has to be a rib. It's ridiculous. Anyway, it made me laugh. It has to be a rib, otherwise I'd have to call them incompetent. Which one is it? Either they are knowingly being semi-self-conscious with this and they're focusing on him down to his knees. It's not even just a little bit. This is fully in shot. Just doing this. Or they're it's incompetent and they just don't know. They just don't care. It's just a lack of care. We'll see. Well, I say we'll see. If I was them, I'd purposefully shift it to a rib. That's what I'd do. Or have wrestlers. New Day might be fine with it, for them to crab walk in or something. That might pop me, just me, just do a little bit of a Zoidberg. Anyway, a second match given more time than I would have assumed on a WWE telly show. Personally, as something I'm all for. Like, the action is WWE's strongest part. It's when the booking comes in, it often goes a bit flat. They just suck up making me care about it. They give me good wrestling, but I don't care. The storylines, the naff, and the characters don't have consistency or really go anywhere. But the wrestling's solid. They've got a really strong roster. Theory getting to go back and forth with the wrestling veteran in Rey Mysterio, but we get our family stressors playing out instead of a full proper finish, which is fine for like a young heel slowly getting that momentum in Austin Theory. It's perfectly fine for him to be kind of getting these kinds of wins to kind of further a different feud he's not in. Dominic losing his cool and the youthful mistake costs his dad the match as Ray goes for the 619, but the referee throws out the match after noticing the kid slap Austin across the face. You silly you! You're silly! It's fine. It's fine. That's pretty much it. That's just that beat. They seem to be building to Dominic turning on him. Would be really surprised if it's not in the Rumble, because that screams the most predictable way to do it, so they probably will do it. They can make it maybe interesting. I just, personally, bit of a mistake. But especially when Dominic is somebody who's kind of learning the craft, to be fair, he's learning it perfectly fine. But he's still young and he's still learning it, that's just the case. And they've done this before, where they decided to turn that person heel, but they're not at that point where they can carry a heel character yet, and it just kind of falls flat. So we've seen it before. It's a WWE show that's been going on for my entire time watching. So I started in 2005, so it's been like 16 years. This has been a show that's existed within them the entire time. They just can't. They need to break up tag teams to do that angle, to get that heat. Oh, I can get that heat, brother. To do that, but they just have to split up a family as well to turn the younger son heel. To do and it very rarely works because the person's just not ready for it. Happens every single time. I'll be so surprised if it doesn't happen again here. So surprised. Anyway, on to the next match. I'm just going to move on. I've got many weeks to moan about the Mysterio's arc because it feels like it's very run-of-the-mill and going in a predictably kind of naff after point. It's like, anyway, Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley versus Zelina Vega and Carmella. Vega and Carmella thought that Nikki's mask looked stupid. You get it? Because Carmella has and we have our match. We've got our match, guys. The best thing about this match was that it erased another week of women's match repeats. It just stopped it being a thing because they set up this match instead. You're not getting Carmella versus Liv Morgan this week, so that's a positive. You're not getting another rematch. If you want to take positives, they're here. Aside from that, it was kind of nothing. Like, the only way to set up new tag contenders for the women is to pin the champion. Get ready for your singles matches next week. The pattern repeats once again. There is no other feud for the women's tag belts. A full year with the same build over and over and over. It's just... I'm not astounded, I'm just disappointed. I guess the belts could be much more. If to see them as like a certain part of the card, like a certain area, it's fine for them to see them as like a mid-card, if not lower mid-card kind of area for the belts kind of fit in the prestige, in the hierarchy. But for them to have used this same exact build for every single feud for over a year now is insane. At this point, I'm just like, why do these belts exist? You have no other ideas. It's the same. It's different people each time, different contenders, different champions, but it's the same booking. It's copy and paste. It's the same thing. Like, the only way to establish a new contender, like for this, the unique thing is, your mask looks stupid, says the person who has a stupid mask. There's that. that's unique and different, right? But the actual thing of the contender's been the champion, then we get our singles matches for the tag team, and then we get our match. It's just, yeah. But the last feud was that. In how Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley, how they became champions. They won a championship contenders match. Right when it was kind of, people were still clearly figuring out what that was. Because it changed for every different kind of match for the champion. But still, it's fine. It's fine. Doesn't matter. They're telling me this match, this kind of booking, and this kind of like placement in terms of show momentum and everything, what it's before, what it's after, just where it is on cards normally, tells me these belts don't really matter. And that's not me saying, oh, women's wrestling doesn't matter. This is me saying WWE's booking, their writing on their own show is telling me they don't really matter. They try and sell it in the moment, but the actual kind of work around it, especially because it's the same feud repeated as well. There's little effort put into the creative side, as well as the kind of giving them stuff to work with. They're telling me it doesn't matter, so I'm zoning out during the matches because you've told me they don't matter. Not you don't have. It's like the subtle storytelling side, which I'm more and more believe somehow WWE don't get. The people behind them, when they should get this, especially TV writers, they know all about purposefully telling the viewer something, but in that sort of way the viewer doesn't know they've been told it, but you've told it them. It's film language. I'm surprised, surely people in WWE know film language. Then I watched The Crab Man. Of course they don't. Anyway, yeah. Via's got a second name. Via Mahan. I can't quite put my finger on who that reminds me of. As I jumped to Photoshop to put the name on the image of Vince McMahon. It's like, of course, Via Mahan, Vince McMahon. Via Mahan, Vince McMahon. Via Mahan, Vince McMahon. Nothing there, is there? Nothing. It's not a thing. Not a thing. I've got nothing to think about there. Oh, I wonder how did they come up with a surname that's just... it must have been like no influence within the company to come up with that surname. Via Mahan. Doesn't sound like anybody else. Let's move on to Finn Balor versus Chad Gable. Clap, positive. Like your wee little mat-based grapple wrestles begin to... building to a great finish, great quick finish. Balor reversing Gable's suplex from the top into a cradle for the win. A nice little surprise in the middle of this week's show. A tad of variety for a second on a show that doesn't normally branch out from the formula. And this match just felt different to so many other things WWE put on. Yeah, it still had the kind of, I'll say almost rhythm of a WWE match. It's still that same showman-y style. But there was so much kind of mat-based stuff, and it was so grapple-happy, I'll say. And the ending was just, for me, that's a really, I want to say awesome kind of finish, just because it's Finn Balor showing he can win in a different way. With Chad Gable, putting Chad Gable over as well. Just the way he let him mat wrestle against him. Yeah, really strong mid-card match. It just took me by surprise. It was like, oh, they're actually letting them do this. Cool. Clap. Cool, good stuff. Anyway, moving on to Street Dogs. Yes, to call it that. This match was the Street Dogs. Woof woof. Street Profits versus Dirty Dogs. RK Bro with their mashup entrance theme on commentary for the bout. A pairing that's fresh for me because I so rarely watch SmackDown that the draft holds weight for me. I watch SmackDown every now and then, just not that often. But I'm fully aware that these two teams have wrestled quite a bit. But it's new for me, damn it. I've hardly seen them wrestle. I've seen people on Twitter moan about constantly seeing them wrestle because even on SmackDown, even though it's referred to as the better show, they've still got the same booking problems. It's still the same thing. They just repeat again and again and again. But I don't watch SmackDown enough for that to be an issue. So yeah. Covering WWE means I watch less of WWE. So the draft actually has weight to me and my review island. I'm fine with that. But yeah, this was a decent tag match where I'm just happy to be watching a tag division with folk fighting for contendership rather than just beating the champions, referred to point earlier. Like, even in interference, I actually don't mind it as we're faced with multiple players in a division often reserved for two. So yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Yes, WWE are catapulting towards 100 non-finishers for the year. They're flying towards it. But to me, this is proof that thing doesn't equal bad. As I didn't mind Omos's interference. Like, for me, it's like this is just an instrument that is used so insanely often that it's become a blunt joke. It's not even a blunt weapon. It's not even A blunt weapon that's then joked about. The joke itself has become blunt because it's just, yeah, they do dumb finishes all the time. Yeah, they're about to make 100 for the year, where the opposition has like 2 or 3. Crazy, crazy. I think AW numbers higher than that, but still, it's not even in double digits. Never mind close to 100. Yeah. Anyway, Omos out there again for the big boy match halting, purposely stopping winners becoming crowned in the tag division to show there's another team that cares. It gives Omos something to do whilst AJ's off for whatever the reason is, and as he makes his speedy recovery, Omos is out here keeping them in the play. And you're showing teams fighting amongst themselves about becoming number 1 contender as the champions look on, and you see them there, but you're not watching the champions lose, so they feel a bit more, look at all these people fighting for the chance to fight these guys. But yeah, prestige, awesome. It's just, yeah, it's nice to see it here. Positive, stay positive. I was about to complain about the early stuff, but no, this is good. Pro, yes, thumbs up for this. As we then move on to another thumb up. I barreled through this. Maybe standing up gives me focus to actually go through the card instead of just drifting off into different stuff. But another match I really enjoyed was the no disqualification United States Championship match. Damian Priest versus T-Bar. He's bad. He's good. He's Damian Priest. As for T-Bar, he's on a great in-ring run. I say great, that's like 2 weeks, is it? It's just a shame he's still laced with a crap meathead jobber gimmick. It's just, just no more animal promos. Just please. The llama of the wasteland will not get his food tonight, so we must bear shall eat the llama. That's pretty much his I'm so happy that we don't get he and T-Bar Maces giving those promos anymore. Yeah. I would be happy for like week after week. Just one more thing from T-Boss just drops as Dijakovic, as Dijak just rears his head, just says, "Oh, hello, it's me, Dijakovic. You remember me? Remember when I was Dijak in Ring of Honor and then Dijakovic in NXT?" And it drove Matt crazy because he's just so used to mainland Europe, where it's like in Serbo-Croat they only say letters in this one way. They don't alternate. So it's Dijakovic. And it screwed me over. But this is the family who's moved to America, so they say it hard. They do the hard stuff. So it's Dijakovic. It does me in. Anyway, tangent. I'll be more than happy to be calling him Dijakovic rather than T-Bar. All this stuff. Just every week, just drop one more thing, because this match was fantastic. It was amazing. The only problem is he's a bloke called T-Bar, who's previously part of a jobber gimmick. And yes, it was a TV United States Championship match, so you never believed he was going to win, but it doesn't really matter when the match is this good. It's all about elevating Damian Priest. And T-Bar did such a good job of that as well. T-Bar both looked amazing in the match itself, but also made Damian Priest look fantastic as well, which is the entire point. This whole championship run is about elevating him ready for the main event. They teased it earlier in the year after WrestleMania, and now they can properly do it. Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, like, Raw's delivered strong with this past year of big lads having big lad brawls. I'm all for them building up a new crop of lads in that world. And yeah, continue to build up T-Bar, continue to build up Priest. You're going to have something there. Priest can be the main event guy, but T-Bar can be his Sheamus to his Drew McIntyre. It can work. He doesn't have to be another right next to him main guy, but he can do it. T-Bar lamping the champ with kendo shots. Priest responding with chair shots in kind, before we got our big table crash spot with a chokeslam off the apron, sending Mr. Bar through a table that just disintegrated. It's amazing. A genuinely great match, continuing to build up Priest in style. Afterwards, out came Apollo to lay down the challenge. Like, I am Apollo. I will be challenging. This man is tall. I will be challenging. And off he goes. They go, boo, you're a villain. Priest obviously accepting the challenge and stuff. Yeah. Yes, I can say about contendership and stuff, but if somebody else steps to challenge Apollo, then we can do that. That can build up a little... It's not just somebody coming out and going, I'm the contender now, or pinning the champion to then become the contender. That uses up a week. Maybe Priest is going, you got to earn your shot against me. Then he pins the champion. Well, you've earned your shot. But no. Have Apollo beat somebody else. Keep Priest strong. It's not that difficult. But then after that was the main event. Just leads into a much smoother show. Coming off a match this hot as well, and then to go into the main event. Yeah, just like generally great stuff. And this was another match that was given time to play out. Like on a different show, this doesn't become no disqualification, and this match is over fast. Priest just destroys him, maybe in like 2 to 3 minutes, and then move on to the next thing. You don't have time to dwell on it either. Just immediately jump, which is like a criticism I've heard about the new revamp of NXT 2.0, where there's not much time to dwell on the thing that's happened. You've got to immediately jump to the next one. It's like, cool. cool. But yeah, a genuinely great match, this, continuing to build up Priest in style. Thumbs up. And then the main event for a solid show. So yeah, it was a show that gave matches time to play out, which made the show infinitely more watchable. I had the opportunity to get into the matches. It doesn't mean I'm into the angles, stories, or characters. But the wrestling itself was solid and held up. And they were like car crash exciting at times as well. Well, of course, Belair versus Lynch killed it in their opener. A really fast ending to that, which I really enjoyed. Priest T-Bar here, where just chaos. I really enjoyed it. Just the phrase I'm using of lamping each other with forcing carnage. Just, oh yes, they were so good. And then the main event in Kevin Owens vs Big E. That was the interesting character arc. Yes, the match itself was solid, but then the thing that happened with Seth Rollins, and then Kevin Owens making that decision, E catching him, and he got two baby faces where one of them knows the other has done something questionable. It was like, oh, yes, awesome. Thumbs up. Yeah, solid show. But it's solid for WWE. Here's the massive caveat. I wouldn't recommend you watch the entire show, but there are 3 matches that are worth watching, which, yeah. In terms of WWE, how can I can't speak too negatively when that is the case. There are 3 matches on this show I'd recommend you watch. The opener with Lynch Belair was solid enough. Obviously screwy finish, but obviously it's solid enough. Priest versus T-Bar, again, lamping each other with forcing carnage. And the main event in Kevin Owens with Big E was also a solid match, which then led to a really strong character beat, which then kind of can go interesting places. And it feels like a dynamic I really enjoyed last year with the 3 different people go around the title scene, and you can rotate them around facing each other. Just I enjoyed it then. I'm enjoying it now. It's not a copy and paste, especially as they've done the angle with Kevin Owens. As soon as Kevin Owens turns straight up heel, then it's copy and paste. But currently, that's fine. And if his contract runs out in January, then he has a solid run putting the champion over, putting Seth Rollins over as well. Maybe even somebody else like Damian Priest, he can lose to Priest as well. It's just like, this is how you have them leave the company. This is how to do it. Not what we've seen in the past where they book them to look crap. Well, it's not. I'm not just talking about Ambrose / Moxley. This has happened before, where at the end of their run, they've not signed a contract, they start to get either nothing booking or booking that makes them look a bit stupid, and then they're gone. It's like, they've gone. Cool. It's a weird one. This is how to do it, though. If Kevin Owens is leaving and he's not signed a contract, for me, this is, and of course, there is still a little while to go. He's 2 months left of his contract. This could be a short while to Survivor Series, and then he gets nothing. But this is solid, and he's putting others over. Why not use a guy going out to put the others over? I don't get it. This is how to do it. It's really a detriment of your company, but this is a positive. It sounds like a negative because I'm ripping on long term, but short term this is a positive to see them doing this. So, good stuff. Anyway, that's the end of the review. As I can do my big wingspan like that, and I knocked over the light. It's fine. I'll get used to it eventually. Anyway, I will be back. Oh my word! I've probably twisted it so it's not going to stay. There we no, well done. Wow, this is incredible audio content. It's not staying. I'm gonna have to hold it. Anyway, that is the end of the show. An amazing way to go off on the first standing review. You can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicatus Damn as in Damn, and there's also over on Twitch at the Implications with 2 S's. I'm not currently streaming. I'm gonna try back to it, but if you follow it, I'm not gonna go against you. There's also Wrestling Headlines. You follow them on Twitter at Russell Headlines. That's Russell without an E. And over on the Facebook page as well for Wrestling Headlines for all your latest wrestling news and the such. And I'll be back on Thursday for the AEW Dynamite review. Really looking forward to that. And yeah, just a solid, as I legit end this review just holding a light. Can I kick it into place? There we go. Wow. Amazing. No better way. Literally, because you twist it to make it stand, and I'd knocked it in such a way that it was just going to drop down. I'm just going to end the review holding a light. Anyway, I'll be back on Thursday, Jesus, for the AEW Dynamite review. Really looking forward to that one. I might try and get a guest on. I don't know if I can do that standing. Anyway, with that, what did you think about Kevin Owens? Are we going to be getting a Big E versus Kevin Owens feud? Do you think that Kevin Owens is turning heel? Which is the other question I was kind of posing. Or are you just perfectly fine for this 3-way dynamic just to continue to play out? Should I be focusing on Big E KO when I should be focusing on all 3 of them? We'll find out. So anyway, with that, I bid you adieu, and I thank you for liking, engaging in any form, any manner, or never taking for granted. I swear there's a third part to that. I can't remember. But with that, I bid you adieu. Adios. And I now crouch down because I know no other way to end the stream. Wow. Adios. Adios.